Good morning, Year 6, and welcome to Wednesday, the 27th of January's literacy lesson. So, today you'll need this page from your home learning pack, and we're on the final day of writing. So, we are going to continue writing in that suspense style and continue writing our suspense story in response to the David Guetta video that we've been watching over the last few weeks. So today you'll need to leave a line underneath yesterday's writing and write the date. When you've done that, read through your work so far. By now we should have dropped in quite a lot of clues that this boy is supernatural and has psychic powers, in yesterday's video where he grabs the keys. And today we're going to kind of bring that to a conclusion with the final thing that happens in the video. So you might want to watch the video again. So you should have the link by now. If not, just type in David Guetta Titanium into YouTube and watch that video on there. So pause the video while you do all of those things. Right, so the ending of the video will come over in a minute, just to remind you of our must, should and could. So we should be using sentences punctuated with a capital letter and full stop, question or exclamation mark at the end. Describing the scene and the characters using adjectives and similes. We should be using short, snappy sentences to build suspense. Have to do a lot of that today because there's another police chase involved. And then use show, not tell to describe the feelings of characters. So we can do that from two perspectives today. We can do that from the boy's perspective and the police. And then we could use range of conjunctions to extend sentences and could use dialogue in a few places today as well. Right, so finally then, we've come full circle now. The boy's pretty much been driven out of his local community because of an event that's happened at the school, an event that the reader should now be realising that he caused. Okay, so now we're going to bring that full circle today. Because as he's walking through the woods, we're going to have a few think about what he could be thinking at that point. And then the police are obviously searching the wood, spotting and chasing the boy. We could involve dogs in that, police dogs as well, and how the boy feels about that. And then the boy finally being caught by the police, and last of all, the boy escaping again, this time for good. So the clues are, the final clue is curling into a ball and using his power, and this time we can make it really obvious. We've got the police shouting at the boy as well, and then we've got the show not tell, the boy being scared that this time he's going to have to hurt people to get away, and it's like this turmoil in his brain, this ongoing struggle of he shouldn't do that, but actually he's going to get into a lot of trouble and people might hurt him first. So really going into depth with that bit. Okay, so here's my plan. I'm going to put that he escaped just in time if you use the cliffhanger, and then I'm going to start around this point, I think, and then when he gets seen, knocked to the ground by the officer and surrounded, and then feeling it happening again. So building up to that part where we reveal that it was the boy that caused the explosion in the school. Okay, so here's our date, and we're just going to start underneath it. So I'm just going to remind myself of that picture. Oh yeah, walking through the woods. So the boy couldn't believe his luck. And I'm writing that because, you know, I'm going to imagine that this boy's had some run-ins before. You know, it's not the first time that his powers have been discovered. It's not the first time he's had to escape from a place. But this time it was really close. That was far too close for comfort. Actually, no, let's delete that. He'd ran away from places before, but he'd never almost been caught. He was scared and tired. Where to now? So now I'm going back on to this part He thought, this questioning, where shall I go? Actually, I'm going to change. Where should I go now? No, I'm not gonna go into first person there. The boy had a million questions racing through his head. Where could he hide now? Where could he hide now? Who would accept him this time? How far or how long would he have to keep running from himself? So, and I've put that last one in because obviously he's in charge of his powers. Well, or is he? You know, how long would he have to keep running from himself? He's going to have to try and control himself sooner or later, isn't he? So a couple of questions in there. And then suddenly he heard the distant sound of voices, and worse and worse, dogs barking. They'd have his trail by now, because dogs have a very good sense of smell. They'd have his trail by now. They must have. He needed to move again. And then I'm going to start the next paragraph with, there he is, after him. Now, at this point, we're going to have to really, really think about what the boy's doing. So, we're giving chase. So, at this point, we need to make sure there's only a few officers. Yelled the officers dressed in black. This time, they had guns. They had guns, yeah, automatic ones. I'm going to describe the sound of men yelling and dogs barking filled the night sky, or filled, yeah, let's just filled the forest, filled the empty autumn forest. At first, the boy glided effortlessly away from even the dogs. He thought he was escaping. He risked a look back at his pursuers. It was at this point that his luck ran out as he ran straight into an armed guard. Now I'm going to use a simile, hitting the ground like a sack of potatoes. There we go. They would fall quite heavily. He stared up straight into the barrel of an AK-47, which is an automatic assault rifle, if anybody doesn't know that. stunned. He sat extremely still. Don't move. Now, yeah, might keep with the extreme police, American police at this point. Don't move. Lay flat. Lay flat on the ground. Now. Screamed the armed man directly in the boy's face. Screamed the armed man while backing cautiously away from the boy. This was it. So at this point here, we need to be going back to this part, feeling it happening again. In particular, this bit, the boy scared that he's going to hurt people. This was it. He'd have no choice now. Just going to change that. He'd have no choice now. He didn't want this to happen. He didn't want this to happen. He could feel tears streaming down his face. Down his face. A heavy feeling grew in his chest. It was as if he couldn't hear the screams of the men and the barking. As if he couldn't. Screams isn't the right word. The shouting of the men and the barking of the dogs all around him. His fingertips started to tingle. Now I'm going to leave it as a little bit of a cliffhanger, so you can choose to do this as you will. The boy looked up at the nearest man. "I'm sorry," he whispered. As a bright as he curled into a ball, a bright white light surrounding him. So that's where I'm going to leave mine. So I'm going to give you that chance to write your proper ending now. So just to remind you today then, you need to make sure that you're asking these questions and the boy's asking. You know, you can make yours slightly different. And then make sure that we're using those short snappy sentences and the dialogue in the police chase. And this part here being knocked down to the ground and this final realisation that the boy is going to have to hurt people to escape. The bit that I didn't write is going into the boy feeling it happening again, you know, and being fully surrounded and having to use his power this time. Well, I'd like you to make sure that you write your power, or write the part where the boy uses his power in right at the very end. Okay, and then when you finish, just go over your work again, a little bit of a quick edit. So read your work out loud. Does it make sense? Check your punctuation, your capital letters, full stops, exclamation or question marks, and your speech punctuation. Tomorrow we are going to have a little bit of an edit and improve in this lesson. And I'm very looking forward to seeing these on Friday when you hand your work in. Okay, thank you Year 6 and see you tomorrow.